What's your advice to someone who is lost?
The opposite of addiction is connection, and I could never do this thing on my own.
I've been working since I was a kid. I just gotta keep my head.
That you're responsible for and that your name's attached to, do you feel like that gave you that responsibility to be better than you were?
That's when it all began. I don't need a rollie on my.
When you believe in yourself a little bit, you'd be surprised what could happen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Loft. Today, I have a very good friend of mine. I'm pretty sure he ran here. Andrew Linder, what's up, big dog?
What's going on, bro?
No worries, man. We've been trying to make this happen for a while. I'm glad you popped out.
Absolutely, bro. I was in the area. Had the race on Saturday, so I was like, yo, let me come by and come hang out, man.
How was that?
It was a journey, bro. It was a journey. It was a 12-hour, my first ultra marathon, so 12-hour race, as many miles you
12-hour race?
12-hour race, yeah.
Fuck.
So 12-hour time limit. You can run as much as you can, but the only rule is you have to run a complete lap for any of your miles to count. So each lap was 3.75 miles. So for any of your miles to count, you have to run a complete lap. So you couldn't just run 70, like you had to run 71.25.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So like, man, it was a lot of fun. Definitely like having my family and just super grateful right now.
Yeah, I saw your family was there to support you. That's pretty cool.
Unreal, man.
Yeah,
unreal.
So obviously you didn't start running this crazy amount of miles, but like you've got, I've noticed over the years. Obviously, you've known each other from just from being around in the area in the Northeast and stuff, and like you've really started to like build up a platform for endurance, fitness, running, and taking care of yourself. And like I see it and I love it. And honestly, I get tired watching your shit, bro, because like the pace that you run is insane. And like, when did you start to really find your passion for like running?
Well, running came up. I come from a very competitive family, and like whether it's like my sisters, my mom, my dad, we're very competitive in everything that we do in a good way, and like, I love it. So I'm done playing college football, and I'm like down the shore getting ready to go work, and I'm talking to my dad, and we're talking about like David Goggins stuff. He's like, you're not gonna run a marathon. So he says this to me. So I'm like, all right. 10 weeks later, there's a marathon in Bucks County. I sign up for it.
That's all it took.
And I'm like, I'm doing it. So that kind of sparked the whole thing of me running marathons. And yeah, man, I kind of took a break, like leaving and working and stuff like that. But about 13 months ago, I went back into it, and I was like, you know what? Let me get back. I love the way that it made me feel. Like I hated running, but I love the way it made me feel when I was done.
Right.
And I was like, let me just go chase this stuff.
Yeah. And so do you find that you love running now, or you still fucked up?
No, it's not that I love running, but the process and everything that like comes with it.
All right, Andrew, you're very, very disciplined. How did this process start? Because I know you were training. You were like, was like 10. How long were you training? 10 weeks for the marathon? First marathon you did?
My first one, was back last October, about 10 weeks before I started training, and I went and ran that one.
Okay.
And then after that, I signed up for 2 marathons right back to back. So I signed up for one in Arizona, and then I was doing the one in Philly 3 weeks after that one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's insane, bro. So obviously over time you've really began to build like a endurance. And so have you like what have you been doing to like take care of yourself and keep yourself like fit and like motivated to keep doing it?
It's I think it's just what I love to do, right? I think some people love going out and having a good time, and that's cool. Like I'll never knock that. For me, I spend most of my money and most of my time figuring out, okay, how can I live healthier? How can I feel better? How can I look better? Stuff like that, So like just like you're doing stuff with how can you be the best DJ? I'm like, okay, how can I be the best version of Andrew Linder when it comes to running these races?
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so that really developed after that first marathon. You just knew instantly?
I went out to Whiskey Row, which is the 5th hardest marathon in the country. And I ended up finishing in 4th place. And what was cool about that one is that for 11 miles, you're on the side of a mountain. I didn't see a single person.
Really?
And you're in all types of pain, man. Like, you're just running up a mountain and down a mountain. You're at whatever 5,000 feet of elevation. It's tough, right? It just sucks. Like there's no other way around. It's hot. You're in Arizona, like, and you don't see anyone for 11 miles, and you learn a lot about yourself in those moments. And like, who are you going to be? There's no one there watching you. You could have walked the whole entire time, bro. No one's gonna see.
No one's gonna notice. Yeah.
You know. And after that, and once I finished that one, I said, all right, I already was signed up for Philly. And then I called my buddies and I was like, all right, we're going to go chase sub 3. We're going to go sub 3. The next marathon we go for is we're going to run sub 3 and qualify for the Boston Marathon. And so that really sparked everything, going out to Whiskey Row.
That's awesome, man. So like, what's your day-to-day looking like? Because I see on your, like, I check up on you on social media and like you're running like a crazy amount every day. Like, what's your usual amount per day you're training?
Well, for this race I was running around, it came out to around like 10 miles a day.
Wow.
So some days we had to run like 5 miles, and then other days I'd run like 12 miles in the morning, 15 miles at night, you know, whatever it was. But you know, I still work and everything. Like, I'm not just like a full-time runner. So, you know, like, you got to make it work around your schedule and stuff like that.
And you're working towards that, right? Is that a goal of yours?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Any way that, you know, I love being able to inspire people, and I found so much joy in that. Like getting messages from people saying like, hey man, this is the healthiest I've been in like years. Or like, hey, me and my girlfriend, like, this is my favorite message I ever got was from someone, and I won't say his name, but he's like, me and my girlfriend started working out because of your page, and our relationship's never been better in the past 6 years.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, I'm never stopping.
That's really
You know,
cool.
like I was like, you know, I'm in.
Yeah.
I got you, bro. And it's like someone you would never think would say that to you, right? You never know who's going to get that, you know, that burst of energy from your content or anything like that. And that's like the beautiful part of it, bro.
Yeah, and it's I think the most important part is what you love. And a lot of times people go through their entire life looking for things that they love. And so when did you realize that like you truly loved it?
I think I love the process of things. So even during like football training camp in college, and where like it sucked, but you're with like your guys, right? You're going to do 2 or 3 a days, and you're with your guys, and it sucks. But like after you're done camp, you're like, damn, we just went through hell together, you know? And being able to put yourself, I think I just realized that I'm on this journey of trying to catch something that's not really catchable. It's not really attainable. And it's just that journey of finding the best version of myself. I'm never going to find them, but I'm chasing them. And that's what I'm on.
So you don't think, so why do you think that way?
Because I think if I ever think I found the best version of myself, I don't think there's really a reason for me to like keep living.
I agree with you. That's why I was asking, because I think there's a certain satisfaction that you'll never find, because as humans, you know, creatures of you know, evolving, and we always look for the next best thing. Yeah. And so since you did the Boston Marathon, right?
No, so I qualified for it. So I ran to qualify for it in April. So I'll run the Boston Marathon this upcoming April.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what would you consider the next best thing for you right now?
I mean, it's just getting better each day. Like, I don't care. I was out with my friends yesterday, and people were talking about the race and stuff, and I said, guys, like, that was yesterday.
Right.
That doesn't matter. You know, and like today, I think every day I try to do something that's really hard, right? And so yesterday I got up and I walked, you know, 1.5 miles. For me, that was really hard yesterday because of what I went through the day before. I mean, you don't have to go run a marathon every day. You don't have to go do 1,000 burpees. Do something that's hard for you each day that's going to make you better. Like today, I ran 3.1 miles. I didn't do it for anyone else but myself. And it was hard as hell to do today. You know, that was a win. That's a win for me.
Right.
You know, I don't have to run a marathon every day. You don't have to go do all these crazy things. Like, you don't have to sign up for an ultra every single weekend. But if you can put hard things on your schedule, and then every day you just stack a win, I mean, that makes life a lot better. Yeah,
and people say that, and it is very true, because I think, like you said, you learn a lot about yourself, and it puts things in perspective to where you were. So like looking back at the high school Andrew Linder and even the college Andrew Linder, like how do you see a difference in yourself than you did years ago?
Wow. I mean, even let's take like 12 months ago. I would have never thought that this is where I'd be at, right? Then I'm sitting talking to you about, I just ran 67 miles 2 days ago. I just didn't think that was really in the cards, you know?
Right.
But I think things might happen in your life, and like different things come into perspective of, hey man, this is what I prioritize now, and like this is what's important. And I think it comes with making a ton of mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? Like being able to fail, right? I think people are so afraid of it. And for me, I think I believe in myself so much, and like I'm willing to fail because I know I'm gonna learn something from it. Whether it's like a failed relationship or, you know, I've failed in a race. I mean, like on Saturday, my goal was to run 78 miles. I ran 67, right? So I can look at
Yeah, that's weak, bro. I mean,
yeah, like, but for me, right? And it's like, you know, okay, I didn't achieve the goal that I was setting for, like that specific goal, but I had a lot of goals, you know, within that race that I did achieve, that I did get. So it's I don't look at it as like, oh, I might have failed at my goal, but I don't look at it as a failure.
No.
And that's the thing I think people kind of don't really realize. You can fail at something and still gain so much out of it.
Yeah, it's a state of mind, and like, and even from it can pertain to any type of career path you're choosing. And I the way I look at life now is like kind of like you kind of hinted at, like the way I look at life now is a lot different than I did a year ago and even 6 months ago. And it's like you've learned through the consistency, and like you build that confidence over being consistent and doing the things you love to do, because the things just kind of they build and they escalate. And so do you ever look back on like when you first started your journey, and how do you think you evolved into today?
I look at it as it goes back to that thing of like becoming obsessed with trying to find the best version of myself. And that's just really like has like kind of trickled down to it all. And then being blessed to be surrounded around great people. I mean, if you look at my Instagram, I mean, the reason why I even like started posting content was because of, you know, one of my friends being like, hey bro, like you're being an idiot for not posting this stuff. You know, you need to get out there and start, like you can inspire so many more people and everything like that. And then just I mean, your circle is so important, man. Yeah. And for sure. And that definitely inspires me, because I have people that are in my circle that are like, hey bro, like, you know, you got to grind today, you know, like you got to go get after it. And not even just like running wise, like whether it's business wise, whether it's work wise, whether it's relationship wise, you know? Yeah. And that has really changed my perspective on a lot of things, the people that are around me, for sure.
And so you moved to DC, correct?
I moved to DC. Yep.
When?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Okay. Yeah. And so why did you move there?
I took a job to work at the federal government. Yeah.
Ah, cool. Okay. Yeah. And so how do you think your life changed since you moved out?
I think everybody, the earlier you can move out of your parents' house is great, because, you know, I have a great family. I love my parents and everything, but you grow up so much.
No, dude, 100%.
You know, living on your own. Like I really have never lived at home. You know, I graduated and then I was out to DC, and man, like paying your own bills, right? Having to go to the grocery store. You have to learn a lot, man. You grow up. And I think, you know, it's nice that parents let their kids like stay at home and stuff like that. But I know, like from me, I will help my kid get out the house.
Yeah, no, dude, comfort kills growth in every single way. And it doesn't even like, if you're not in a financial position to move out, that's fine. Right. But I think the independence factor of it, because it creates more problems for you, but in a good way, where you just learn and develop. And so moving out to DC, how your network there, I mean, I have to ask as well, who is it? Does the guy who films your content, does he run with you, or does he drive next to you, or what does he do? So
in the beginning, like so I go out to DC into the police academy, and my best friend in the whole entire world right now is my roommate Brandon Chambers, and that's just my guy. And when we started doing the content thing, he was like, we were trying to find all different ways. Like we were new to this content stuff, right? Yeah, so we're trying to find all different ways. So he's like in a car one day, and then so we're like trying to find like places I can run that are in the street, you know. And then next we went and get like a gimbal, something like to hold. Right. So he's running sprints, bro. Like he's running sprints, like running backwards. And early on, like we couldn't even film, because I would just be cracking up laughing. He's backpedaling, right? Like 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 on the trail, just like hilarious stuff. And so yeah, like in the beginning for the first about 4 or 5 months, it was just him, and he was just running next to me the whole entire time.
Yeah,
just,
Brandon,
like,
shout out to you, bro.
Yeah.
That's
dedicated.
not
bro.
an easy task.
Nah.
You've clearly, like I said before, and the reason I wanted you on this podcast is because you clearly built a level of discipline that is pretty hard to achieve, and I think that it comes from the consistency that you built. But obviously, you have a lot of downtime as well. And is there anyone that inspires you, or people that you look up to that really pushes you to continue to work during the day?
I would say my parents. Like, yeah, I mean, growing up, my dad was like my hero, you know? Yeah, and like I loved working. Like we would go and we'd work jobs. Like my dad worked 2 jobs, my mom worked 2 jobs, and I would go on the weekends. I would work with my dad, but I loved it, right? Like I didn't, like we would go put in hardwood floors and go paint and like do these side jobs that he would have, but he would find ways. Like we'd go to Wawa and like I'd grab like a Slurpee and candy and stuff, stuff that like I wouldn't normally get, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, man, grab whatever you want, bro. At free labor, So, nah, man. But I really like his work ethic and how like detail oriented he was to things. Yeah, man, that still is my hero, And my mom just grinds, Like she's worked 2 jobs until this year, And so I never think I'm doing enough.
What do you think that they instilled in you that you carry till to this day?
Hard work. You're never gonna get places on talent alone. It's only gonna get you so far. And it's actually funny you asked me that question because I was like just listening to a Andrew Huberman podcast, and they were talking about like the development of kids. And kids who are told, what they were saying is that kids that are told that they're talented often don't succeed as much as kids who are told that they've got stuff because of hard work.
Right.
And I doubt that they knew that, but that's what they did.
They don't know it at the time, but it's very like it's subliminally in their head.
Yeah.
And I think when you're given things, you're not developing, you're not growing. It's great to have them, but you're not putting in the work to get them, because I truly believe that the process is everything. And you can, for me, for example, something small that I've been doing is I make all my flyers now. And there's this guy, DJ 9, who's super, super talented. He's like the goat of making flyers. He makes it come to life. So if he's watching this, shout out to you. But he really makes things come to life, and like he really inspires me.
Right.
And my mindset on that is, how can I get to that level? So I'm putting in the little work by buying the $35 fonts or little shit like that, where it's like, when you put in the work and the effort and like the process of it, that's where the true growth comes from. And like coming back to where we were talking about is like, if you're constantly being given things, you're not growing and you're also not learning. And I always say that, people who are looking to grow or start something, say, for example, if you want to do music, it's like when you start anything, you get curious, then you start asking questions. And you start solving the questions, and then you start having solutions. And then once you start having the solutions, that's where you grow and develop off of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just truly believe that like the process is everything and the journey is everything.
It is.
Yeah.
That's the fun part of it, right? Like me and Brandon, we were living in a basement for 18 months.
Really?
Not that we like had to, but we were like, we'll save money and we'll go live in a basement and we'll just grind. And we had some, goals that we were like, yo, we got to hit these goals to get out of the basement. Like I was living in a nice apartment and I was like, you know what? Like, I don't really deserve this yet. Like I shouldn't be living here. Like, let me go somewhere that's cheaper, go live in an apartment. go live in a basement and just grind. And we did that for 18 months.
And so you actively chose to do that.
Actively chose to do that. It's not that I had plenty of money to live where I wanted to live and stuff like that. But I was like, what do I need this apartment for? Like, what have I done to deserve this kind of thing? I
mean, I think there's a lot difference between like you can be hard on yourself, and there's also like giving yourself credit. Have you given yourself any credit for what you've done in the past few years?
Something I'm working on. Definitely has caused. That's definitely caused some I'll say problems, but like differences in my life, especially like relationship wise. Like I never sit back to, you know, like, hey, like this is like good job, you know. I never. Yeah, I think I'm just like, hey man, I can do more. You know, like I did this, and it's like, okay, cool. Like we got to go work on something else, right? And it's definitely something that I need to work on,
right?
But yeah, that's
well, I was gonna say this because I've gone through. I used to go through the same thing. I still do to a degree. I think there's such a fine line between acknowledging how far you've come, and you know, like you kind of hit on before, like you're only as good as the last thing you've done. So you got to keep doing new things. I remember. It's so funny, back in 2018, my junior year summer, going in the senior year of Temple at college, I lived in LA, and I came home because I had an internship, and I came home, and life was just so different from LA to Philly. And I told myself, like, if I didn't make it to LA by the time I'm 25, that I'm a loser. Like, I'm not doing anything with my life.
Yeah.
And once I graduated 2019, 2020 hit, COVID hit.
Right.
And that changed literally everything.
For sure.
So it changed the way I perceived LA, and it changed the way I perceived myself. And ultimately I started coming into like the DJing, the podcast, the Grace Project, and like I found like a new avenue for that. And I don't, you know, because the journey isn't always, you know, what you think it's going to be. And 99% of the time it doesn't end the way you want it to.
Nah.
But I've learned to acknowledge like how far I have come, and like the things that I have done, and like especially for yourself too, like starting with the first marathon, now you're running at the minimum 5 miles a day, or you know, something like that. So it's like, it's just I find it so important to acknowledge how far you've come and what you've done. Is there anyone that, like, I know you said your parents or your role models, you know, is there anyone you watch or listen to that has really helped mold your mindset into like being disciplined as you are?
My head football coach in college, Coach Twig, man, just like this, his mindset was just like, you can do more. Like, you're tired, you're not that tired. You know, like you got to go take that extra step. And he kind of like was like talking to him, and like being around him all the time is like, there's so much more is possible. Like you can work so much harder. Like you ran 10 miles, bro. Let's go run 10 more. Like let's go do some hard stuff. And that was like that first introduction, being around him so much, and us having a tremendous relationship, and us, you know, still being, you know, great friends today. Like, and I graduated 4 years ago, and I still talk to him all the time. It's just like, hey man, we'll spot check each other. Like, yo, are you running? You know, he's older, he's a head football coach now and everything like that. But, you know, I'll hit him up like, yo, like, don't let yourself go.
Right.
Like, don't let me come spot check you. You know? And it's like, we'll go get some miles in. And it's just going back and forth, and having people that like can push you physically and mentally, that's really what it's about. Because it's not about like going and being able, for me personally, like I don't really care about, you know, the weights that I hit in the gym and stuff like that. Like, it's not like the biggest thing to me, but to be able to like really grow mentally, and that's what like running has really like allowed me to do. So yeah. Do you find running as like as therapy in a way? I had this thing that was like if you ever had questions, I think running is great for clarity, right? Your problems aren't like gonna go away or anything like that by running. But if you can go run for, hey man, you got a 10-mile run, and you've been thinking about, you know, something at work or whatever you're thinking about, you're probably gonna get more clarity about like what's going on in that situation by the time you're done your run. You know, like I've had some, you know, whether you're like going through like some tough times in your relationship or something like that, you know, you go out for a run, you know, you're probably gonna get the answer by the time you're done. And also, like, after I do those things, like, I'm just so grateful for, I feel so good when I'm done, you know? So I'm just in a way better mental space. I never get done a run and I'm like, I feel terrible, you know, mentally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's, you know what's interesting, dude? Like, I've been saying this forever, but I need to get my ass back in the gym and start taking care of myself again, because like every time you like what you said is exactly right. Like every single time I've gone to the gym or went for a workout or something like that, I felt amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's like the consistency and the discipline is the thing that I need to work on for everything else. Everything work-wise is great. It's just the physical aspect of it.
Yeah.
And what do you do on a daily basis to take care of your body physically?
Well, going off like just what you just said there, I have something that like I write down each day. So it was like accountability, right? You have accountability to yourself, accountability to your business, and accountability to relationships. And all three of them don't get completed unless you complete all three. Like there's something missing in all of them if all three aren't checked off, right? So what you just told me is that, hey man, your accountability to business is fantastic, right? It's unreal. And your accountability to relationship. And what I mean by not like, maybe not your partner, but your relationship to your sister,
dad.
mom, dad, your family, everyone like that. How are you as a son, as a brother, right? And then, but the most important one is the accountability to yourself. Because if you're not the best version of yourself, how are you supposed to be the best person in your business? How are you supposed to be the best person in your relationships?
Right.
And that's what I really try to focus on. And I write 3 things like every day when I'm like about to write on a piece of paper. I write 3 things at the top, 3 words that I try to like live by. And number 1 is compete. Number 2 is love, and number 3 is respect. And I write those on every single day. I write that, whether it's in my journal. The first thing I write on every day are those 3 words. And that's what kind of keeps me in check, like every single day.
Where did that come from? How did you develop that?
I just was thinking, I was listening to someone about 2 years ago talk about like who you want to be as a person, and like talking about like the writing your affirmations and stuff like that. But I think people get so obsessed, like, oh, I need to go do this like huge morning routine and like all this stuff. And if that works for you, that works for you.
Yeah.
Like what works for me probably isn't going to work for you, and what works for you isn't going to work for me, right? So I was like, am I really going to sit down and write all this stuff every day? No, I'm not. I'm being real with myself, right? But can I write 3 words that I want to live by every single day? I just like brought it down a little bit, and I'm very consistent with that. You know, because I don't like, I think something that you can do wrong is telling yourself you're going to do stuff and then not doing it. Right? Like if I tell myself I'm going to do something, I'm doing it.
Right.
You know, so those 3 words is just like, you know, compete is literally like, is like my family. Like that's, you know, I'm trying to put my shoes on better today than I did yesterday.
Right.
You know, and like if I'm always competing, I'm never going to be complacent. I'm never going to be comfortable, you know, and I'm not competing with you, but I'm competing with myself to be better, you know?
Yeah.
And with love is like love the people around you, and love yourself.
Yeah.
And that means like taking care of your body and doing all those things. And then respect is something like my mom leaving the house every day is like respect everyone you come encounter with, you know?
Yeah. I think the biggest, I think what's really important that I think a lot of people focus on is like competing with others. And for me, I've been solely focused on competing against myself.
Yeah.
And like, you know, if I do something great, I can do it better the next time. And then just doing it the right way along the way.
Yeah.
So along the way, speaking of your journey, where do you see your journey end? Do you have like an end goal, or do you have something that you can accomplish? No, there's nothing. So your goal right now is just to be consistent and just enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah. I want to, I just want to keep raising, I want to raise money for charity. And I want to, you know, inspire people, you know, we're going to do a 100-mile race coming up here. And then we're going to do an Ironman and just keep pushing the body, finding new things to do, challenging the mind a little bit, and, you know, ultimately like make money to help a lot of people.
Let me ask you this. Is there a moment you can recall where your body was truly tested and you were just like, I'm giving up? Like, was there a time? Saturday.
The second to last lap. My sisters fitting are running with me, because what happened was I was doing really well, right? I was leading for majority of the race, and around mile 40, I ended up like I couldn't keep anything in my body. Like I would just have to go run and take a shit. Like
really,
like it got so bad, bro. It got so there's porta potties, no toilet paper. So I'm by myself on the loop. I got to go run to the porta potty. So there's 2 toilet paper rolls there. Rip off the cardboard, use the cardboard, keep running, bro. And we got like 35 more miles to go, you know? And then it turned into the point where they're like whoever's running with me is just bringing wipes with them, just so I can like run in there and like run to the porta potty.
Crazy.
So yeah, man, it got to a point where I was like, I had to take shit like 3 times every single lap. because I'm trying to eat food. I'm trying to like keep my body going. And that second to last lap was it was tough. I was with them, and like they're just like love them so much. Like they're just savages for even being out there, and they're running ahead of me and telling me to keep coming. And like I feel bad because I have an older sister, but I'm the big brother, and it's like and I'm like not holding my weight right now, and like I'm like bent over and like cramps and everything, and they're just like trying to encourage me. I was trying to talk to them. I wasn't really making sense. Like wow. I was at a point where I was like Amber started getting like worried because like I wasn't making any sense what I was saying. And then like I asked them, I was like, did it get really cold out? Like I'm shivering like while I'm running. And I wouldn't have got done through that lap if it wasn't for them, and just the willpower to get through, because I feel like, okay, I had to do that. And that's what I was searching for during that race. I wanted to reach a point where I didn't think I could go any further. And then, I went down and I got back to like the aid station where I could sit down, and I was like, I'm going one more. Like I need to go do one more. This is the point where I wanted to get to. And I was like, we got to go one more. And then that was the point.
I'm like really curious, because the body naturally neglects or avoids discomfort. Why do you seek comfort so much? Why do you seek discomfort so much?
I think you don't grow as a man, or a woman. Like you don't grow as a person if you don't do hard things. We live such easy lives, bro. Like we have running water. We can go to Whole Foods and Acme to go get food. Like as bad as your day is, other people have it so much worse than you. I am the happiest person I've ever been today because of all the hard things that I do. It makes me appreciate all the things. Like, I don't think my family's ever been closer because of the event that like went in on Saturday. Like all my friends who are there, like I love them to death, man. Like to be there and like support me and stuff like that. And then just like to be grateful to have the like body that I have and the mind that I have to push through those things, and the people that have gotten me there. Dude, like I think everyone has to like put something hard on your schedule and just go get after it, man. Like you will grow so much as a person. I promise you'll be happy. Your relationships will be better. You'll grow as a person. I'm sure your businesses will all be better because of it. And there's nothing more important to me than finding that like discomfort, because it makes me appreciate all the other things so much more.
Okay. Since Saturday settled in, and you feel like that was the one point where you hit where like your body just wanted to not run anymore. Now that the dust is kind of settled, what do you think you've learned about yourself since the Saturday?
That like support is like one of the greatest versions of love. And sometimes like, I've definitely failed at that in like relationships, and like just seeing the people who are there and all of them there for me. Like, bro, I'm so like I can't even put in the words like how grateful I am for my family and my friends for everything that they did. Like, like Brand's putting an ice bandana. He's like, bro, I'm never doing this shit again, bro. Like, like Nick's rubbing biofreeze on my cap. He's like, dude, I'm never like this is the only time this is happening.
Like, I love
bro.
you, but
exactly. But everyone's there, like, coming off 2 hours of sleep, staying there for 13, 14 hours, for the whole entire event. And it's like everyone's coming together, working towards one goal. Support is like the ultimate way of love, man. If like, your girlfriend is like really into art, like, bro, be at those art classes. Buy her the brushes, like buy her whatever she like, support.
Give her the tools.
Yeah. Exactly, bro. Because it's just amazing. Whatever it is, man, do it with a passion unknown to mankind. And that's the biggest thing that I learned for sure.
That's dope. And I think that all intertwines with your success. The support system, like I can speak for myself 100%, like having Bobby film all my stuff, like he's been a huge part of my life, like with even just like my career, but also like living with him too. Like we're about to have a new release, even Chris too. Like having that support system literally is everything. And so I think that ultimately it does lead to your success. And so what is your definition of success?
Like, I think being able to do what you love every day. That's
right.
success.
Right. Yeah, that exactly. And something I really picked up on too. I think when people think about success, they think about the accolades, the
The money.
the all that type of jazz that goes with it. But I think the true version of success is if you can wake up every single day happy with yourself and what you're doing, and that is different strokes for different folks. And I think it all depends on the person. And do you have? I'm trying to think of a way to phrase this, but do you have? I know you said you don't really have goals, etc. When it comes or like a specific destination, but like, do you have things you want to accomplish before you die?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wanted to get into, like, growing up, if like you taught to me, I wanted to go work for like the government. I wanted to like go banging doors and, you know, find like child molesters and sex offenders. Like that was my thing. Like I always said that to my family, and that was the path that I was
just
that
create
was on.
good and justice. And
yeah, I wanted to be someone who could make a difference, right? And then being and working in DC, I realized that, you know, if you want to make a difference, you need to make money. And people cannot like that. You want to make a difference. You're not making a difference. You don't make a lot of money, you know? And if you want to make a difference, make more money. And so, you know, one of the goals that I have is to be able to, you know, help, you know, women that are, you know, sex trafficked and stuff like that, help them get rehabilitated and then like start working jobs and like getting good careers and being successful people. Being able to speak on some of the biggest stages and help motivate people to be better versions of themselves, because I've found, you know, so much pleasure in that and helping people. That's definitely been is on my list and very excited to do.
I didn't want to chime too much. I didn't want to pry too much about your job, but that's what your job is.
No, so that's not I work down in DC. That's what I wanted to do, right? You know, you got to take some extra steps to be there. I ended up getting the offer to do that, and you know, I ended up turning it down, which I never thought I'd ever do. You know, I ended up getting
obvious
getting
question
the job,
is why.
You know, and I really it started like, if this wasn't the last 13 months of me like running and doing all this stuff, I would have took the job, but I've been able to help so many people already, and I believe that I can help so many more. And that's like that faith that I just have in myself. Like I have no fear of failure. Like I don't see myself failing. And someone will go take that job, right? Like there's so many more applicants. People will take that job. How many people are willing to do what I'm willing to do every day? It's not as many. So I'm going to put all my chips on me, and we're going to go help a lot of people.
Love that. I think a lot of people in this world are in race for second place. And you know what I mean? And like, the sooner you can realize that every single person has something unique to offer. And if you can create something that's new, different, and yourself, I think that's what's ultimately going to lead you to where you want to be. And I want to ask you a question. Is your desire to succeed, all right, let me ask you this. What's stronger? Your desire to succeed or your fear of failure?
I look at it as, you know, whatever you believe in, whether you believe in like God or whoever. Right? For me, I believe in God, right? So we'll take it that way. And they say like you have like 1 in like 14 trillion chance of being Kev Nichols, right? For me being Andrew Linder. So I look at it as like a resume. Right? So let's say that there's 14 trillion people, a number you can't even fathom, right? Everyone's applying to be Andrew Linder, right? So I say, when I was like Linder, guys, hey, these are all the things I'm going to do. If you let me be Andrew Linder, these are all the things I'm going to be, I'm going to do while I'm down there. He's like, bro, you're going to do all that? Yeah, bro, I'm going to do all that. So he sends me down here to be me. My fear is going up there, right? And you have to hand in your resume of all the things you accomplished while you were down on earth. And he's like, yeah, man, this is cool, but you said you were going to do all this. You only did this. How many people sell themselves short because they only did the things that they were supposed to do instead of doing all the things that they could have done? I never will have a thought on my deathbed of like, man, I didn't take that chance. I'm going to take every chance. And I just believe in myself.
I love that. That's huge. That's deep. That's deep, man. That's super interesting. You know what? It's also, and that's what, like, the one thing I hope that people watching this and listening, who listens to the podcast in general, like, can take, is that, like, as long as you're alive and you're on this earth and you're willing and able, you can.
Yeah.
And, you know, because like I said before in the beginning, we are creatures of habit, and we are also looking for the next best thing. And the sooner you put yourself in the position of uncomfortability where you have to survive, you will adjust and you will survive. You know, like, you know, think of it like, for example, a perfect example is my partner Megan Cohen. She works with the Grace Project.
Yeah.
We were talking, obviously, and we're going to do a lot together.
Right.
She was out in the streets in Kensington, and she was out living there homeless, and you know, didn't know where her next meal was coming from, and you know, is suffering from addiction, and her body wouldn't die. She survived. Like, she survived it, and she came out on top, and now she runs a nonprofit and does all these amazing things because she just didn't want to give up, and she still had more things to do, and she realized that.
Yeah.
And I think the sooner that anyone, you know, it doesn't matter what you're doing at this very moment, the sooner you realize that you have more capability on this earth than you realize, is like, that's when your mind starts to change. And I think you've caught on to that very soon. And I want to ask you, what do you think, because I'm curious, because obviously we always evolve and we always change.
Yeah.
What do you think is the main difference of high school Andrew Linder and current Andrew Linder?
I probably didn't think big enough. You know, I really do think I can accomplish anything that I want, you know, because of the team that I have around me. And then I'm just going to go ahead and just, you know, find a way to do it and just work extremely hard at it. I think high school Andrew Linder had a lot of growing up to do, you know. He probably was, you know, thinking about the wrong things and not focused on the right things. And even today, like today, right now, like I have so many things I need to work on. Like I'm so far from being perfect, and there's a lot of things that I need to be way better at.
Right,
you
none
know?
of us are perfect.
Yeah, and I'm still like just like going and trying to figure it out. But I think the biggest thing that I would tell, like if I could go back to tell like high school Andrew Linder or something, is like think bigger, man. Think bigger. Like think people fall like too short of like, you know, like I saw something today. It was like, yo, if you don't like where you live, you can move.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like you can do that now.
Literally.
Like this is in the 1700s. You
Right,
know?
yeah.
Like if you don't like living in Philly, like you can go somewhere else.
Right.
You don't have to sit and complain about it.
Yeah.
You know, like Goggins has that, like don't sit in your shit for too long.
Right.
Like, dude, if you don't like something, like you have full capability of changing it.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah. It's the time of the pod where I dropped the quote that my grandma told me. And it's when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And life is all about perspective.
Bro. That's awesome.
It's literally all it is. And like I said, I drop it at least. If you know, you know. Like I literally every single episode, but like it is so true. And I'll keep saying it because it is so true. And like, dude, when I look back at who I was in 2020, I had nothing going for me. Genuinely had nothing going for me.
Yeah.
Didn't know where my life was going to take me. And then by starting this podcast, I took my first step, and that changed everything for me.
Yeah.
And your whole life can change in 6 months, and everything in your life that happens is meant to happen. Because when if you're in a shitty situation right now, I think I've been like, I saw a video I watched, and it's the most important thing was realizing that where you're at in life is just a state of mind, and it's temporary. Yeah. You know, you're the feeling you have of not having enough money, or the uneasiness, or the depression, or, you know, obviously there is diagnosed depression, but I think my point is that like once you realize that it's only a temporary thing, that's when it can change for you.
Yeah.
You know, it allows yourself to take that first step, you know, because a lot of people, like you said, sit in their shit. And when you sit in it for too long, I mean, it doesn't go away. Right. You know, there's a point. I never think there's a point in no return, but I think it makes it a lot harder. And the thing I'm trying to figure out for certain people in my life is like how to get them out of that, and how to get them out of that shit that they're sitting in. And the conclusion I always come to is just they have to want it.
That's it, bro.
You know,
that's the biggest thing. I mean, let me ask you something. So, you know, you're saying about 2020 and you and everything like that, and I think something that people talking about being comfortable and stuff, people's friends can really hold you back, right? Yeah. And I know, like for me, like my group of friends is way different than it used to be. Yeah. And, you know, I really only talk to like a few people every day, but like those dudes are in my foxhole. Like
Yeah.
they'll go to war with me, you
Right.
know, and vice versa. And like for you, like, you know, for how big of a change was it the people that you surrounded yourself with?
My whole group changed.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
There's a few people here and there, but like everything changed.
Yeah.
Like, and I've started to see that just growth in myself as a human being, just because of the people I surround myself with. And it's funny, I had a moment last night where I felt really uneasy, and it was because I was around certain people that I know weren't supposed to be there, and my body now rejects it. And people can physically see it on my face. Like I can't hide it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's like, I just know, I think it's a sign of growth in myself. And I think it's a sign of like understanding now what I'm willing to deal with and understand and have in front of me. Yeah, no, it's just funny thinking about it, but like, it's like, I don't know, you start to realize that the people you have around you is gonna change your outcome of your situations 100%.
Yeah, like that's
You know?
the saying, like your network is your net worth, right?
Right.
Like always find people who are more successful than you, right? It's like the, you know, there's so many sayings about it. It's like if you hang around 4 millionaires, you'll be the 5th, right? You hang around 4 crack dealers, you'll be the 5th one.
Right.
You know, it's like it's the same thing. Like, you know, you're gonna attract great people if you do, and I think that's like a huge thing in my life. You know, I've been blessed to like for great people to come into my life that help me, that are on the same mission as me, and if you can find a good group of people, there's no value in that, man.
Yeah.
There's definitely no value in that.
Yeah, and I think something you kind of failed to acknowledge is that everyone was there at the marathon because of the step you took to train for it and be there and put yourself in that situation. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I think a lot of times we don't acknowledge the steps that we take change the outcome of everyone's lives around us, and vice versa. So I guess like my question is now is, you know, moving forward, what is something you would say to someone who like, even, I wouldn't even say fitness, because fitness may not be for everybody, but in the discipline aspect, because like I said, you're very disciplined, and I have a lot of respect for that, because that's not easy to attain. When it comes to being disciplined, you know, for anyone watching or listening, what's some advice you would give to them to be more disciplined?
I would say for me, goal setting is big. Where like like for me, a goal setting is like, okay, I got to go run a sub 3 hour marathon, or like put something out on your schedule. If you're like, you know, if you're really into being a DJ, right? Like say like, yo, I'm going to go do a gig at this place in the next 8 months. Okay, let's work backwards, right? Mm-hmm. How do you get there? What are you going to do, you know, each month? What are you going to do 3 months? You know, what are you going to do 90 days and so on and so on, and then break it down that, okay, what do I need to do day by day to attain that goal? And then that's what it came down, because for me, it was like, okay, achieving sub 3 hour marathon. You know, it's like the sexy thing to do now, like for people to run a sub 3 hour marathon, qualify for Boston. So I was like, okay, 20 weeks, cutting everything out of my life, right? All distractions cut out of my life. And I was, you know, for 20 weeks, I drank 1 glass of wine the whole entire time. So no other alcohol.
Good for you.
Right? Yeah. No other alcohol for 20 weeks. 0 cheat meals. If I went out to dinner, I made sure they had food that like fit into my macros. I was asleep. I stretched every single night. I did everything so that when I knew when I was going to go out to that race, I said it in the video before. I said, I'm achieving sub 3. I'm running sub 3. This is an attempt. I'm doing it tomorrow. And for me too, is like, I really respect people's time. So, you know, I got like the guy who got me started in the content, you know, Vlay, who's out there with me, right? My boy Brandon's out there with me. My boy Eric's out there with me. My parents, like time and money to go out there. Like, you know, I'm not going to let them down. So what, I'm going to take a couple of days off because I want to go get drunk or go out.
Right.
That's not how I roll. I was like, you know, I write down respect every single day. I respect people's time. You know, so I was like, okay, for 20 weeks, I'm doing everything the right way, so that I knew that when I went out there on April 23rd in Toledo, Ohio, it was going to take me less than 3 hours to run that marathon. Right.
Yeah. So. And they always say, if you always tell the truth, you never have to lie. And when you lie, you know, usually when people lie, they're trying to change the outcomes of things in their favor. Yeah. I think when you always tell the truth and you do it the right way, everything that happens, you're automatically not attached to the outcome because you know you've done everything possible. Right. And I think a lot of times people do get attached to the outcomes, and that's what affects their mentality on being disciplined, you know, because they're attached to their outcome. I think when you take it like yourself and you just do the best you can, and if it happens, it happens, and also telling yourself you're going to do it.
Right.
You're manifesting it.
That's
Are you
it.
big into manifestation?
I love it. I love it.
So am I.
Yeah, like it's like I never say like I never try to do things. I'm either gonna do it or I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think putting try into it, and no, it's like, you know, I'm going to be successful, right? I'm gonna run a sub 3 hour marathon. You know, I'm gonna go run 100 miles. I'm not gonna try to run 100 miles. I don't put any doubt into my head of not doing something, and it comes into like, you know, being positive with yourself. You know, I'm very critical of myself. I'm very hard on myself. Like, there's days where I don't want to get up. There's days where like I'm sitting, like, just waiting to put on my running shoes.
Yeah.
You know, like, or I'll drive to the track to go run, and I sit in my car for 30, 40 minutes. Like, there's days where like I'm just like, dude, why am I doing this right now?
Right.
Like, you know, there's tough days out there, right? But it's like and then it's like trying to like tell yourself, okay, that's okay to have those type of days. Something I've accepted too is like, it's okay to have a shitty workout.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you had a shitty workout, right? But you were in the gym today, right? So trying to like give myself like more positive like encouragement along the way, I think it's really good too.
Yeah. Yeah. And just putting yourself in that position, I think, is the showing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, no. So like I said, like, you know, for people watching, like for me, I think is the consistency of everything that breeds everything else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when it comes to your fitness journey, do you have something that like I said before, is there anything like physically or mentally that you want to achieve that you think you haven't yet?
I think what on Saturday that I achieved is to reach a breaking point, like where I did, and then to go one more, right? But now I've reached that limit, so we have to go do it again, right? So I'm gonna go, you know, I'll do a 100-mile race. You know, I'll do some marathons in between for training. And then I'll go spend some time in the mountains and go do a 100-mile race, because I have to go find, okay, how much further can we go? And my mom's going to hate that say it, because, like, you know, she's like, you know, how about you just stick to marathons? You know, I don't think you have to do this. But I am so obsessed with like the journey and everything. Like this race that we did on Saturday was called the Loopy Looper, right? So 3.7 mile loop, just over and over and over again, right? Very monotonous.
Yeah.
And when I'm training, I like to go into like the city or Alexandria, Virginia, up on nice trails and stuff like that. But I was like, no, that's not how the race is going to be. So I found a 2.25 mile loop, and I ran that for 99% of my training. I was down in Wildwood a couple of days, so I ran some of my training. But anytime I was back home and back in DC, I ran in this 2.25 mile loop because I was like, okay, how can I simulate race day as much as possible? Right. So if it's like, you know, anybody who's trying to get into anything, like, you don't need to go run an ultra marathon. But if you're trying to, you know, you for being a DJ, like, picture yourself in the biggest clubs in the world. Like, if that's your dream, like, then that's what you're doing. That's what you're gonna do. So picture yourself there already, bro.
You know what happened is I'm getting there, and like I truly feel like the momentum is there, and like, but I've honestly just kept my eyes closed, and I've just done everything the right way, and I've every opportunity I've gotten, I've made sure I did the best damn job that I could, and I think that leads to everything else. Yeah, it's not like I have like, oh, I'm gonna do this and this. It's like, let me take this opportunity that's in front of me, do my best. That leads to more, and you build relationships, and you build friendships with people, and I think everything that just breeds itself. I look at my old schedule from last July. I think that's when I first started posting my schedule. And I looked at this one for August, and it's just like night and day. Yeah. And it's just because I kept my eyes closed and just put my head down. You know what I mean? It's all it is, you know. But dude, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast.
Bro, it was awesome, man. A lot of fun, dude.
It's a long time overdue. I know you wanted to do this for a minute.
For sure, bro.
Where can they find you on social media?
At Andrew M. Linder on all social medias, YouTube, everything.
If you want to stay motivated, check him out on Instagram. Check him out on all of his platforms, man. Like I said, dude, your dedication to the grind, your discipline and everything, I truly admire that. So I want to thank you for coming on, brother.
We'll get some miles in one day, man.
Hell yeah, let's do it. Fuck it, we ball. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go, man. All right, bro. I appreciate you, dude.
All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of The Loft. I'm KEV Nichols. That's Andrew Linder. Peace, guys.